This is Life Hack 101, how to never gain the weight back. And I've got to say, this is probably the single most important training that I could ever give. And this is it's so important. And it probably isn't exactly what you think. Tell me if you can relate to this. This was my old pattern where I would get to a point where I would be so frustrated and upset and uncomfortable in my body that I would do something. Now, what that something was, it varied from year to year, depending on what was going on, whatever diet it was, or whatever my friend was doing, or whatever I saw on the checkout line, or the new fad thing, or what the doctor said, or whatever. So I would get to the point where I was so disgusted and upset and uncomfortable in my body that I'd be willing to do something different. And that I would muster up that willingness to do whatever it was. And I would go full on, full out, whatever it said to do. And of course, after you kind of feel like you've got a little bit of control and whatever the diet is that you're doing is working, there is a sense of relief, right? And it's okay, this makes sense. I feel so much better. This is great. I know what to do now next time. I don't really ever have to feel that way. And it's you lose 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds. I mean, even occasionally I would stick with it for longer than that and lose the full 50 pounds that I really needed and wanted to lose. And that was, of course, it had challenges, and that was fine, but I was always waiting to eat the way that I wanted. Eventually, there would be a day where I went off that diet for whatever the reason is, whether somebody made something for me, it was a holiday, it was my birthday, it was something that I got for free, it just looked really good, whatever the reason is, there was some reason to kind of stray. And at first it's fine, right? At first you're oh, it's no big deal. At first, your weight doesn't really fluctuate that much. And you kind of feel, I remember feeling very in control, things were good. And then my weight eventually at some point would start to creep and creep and creep. And every time that I would get on the scale and it would be a little bit more up, that old thinking would come back of, oh my God, you don't want this to get out of control. You definitely don't want to gain all the weight back. You need to do something different. You need to jump back on whatever that crazy diet is. Maybe you'll do a cleanse. You'll probably do it on Monday. Okay, but you know what? If you're going to do that on Monday, you probably want to eat all the things that you're not going to eat for a really long time again, because, if you lose about 1 pound a week, it's going to take this many weeks, and that's a long time, and so-and-so's birthday. And this whole chatter would start to happen inside of my mind, raise your hand, let me know that I am not alone in this one, where the chatter would start. And then it was well, and then I need to go have this, and how about a little bit of this? And all of a sudden, I'm not really totally living my life. Now I'm just thinking about food, constantly, what I'm going to have, and if I'm not going to have it, and what about this, and what about that, and who can I call, and where can I go? And it just was kind of consuming. And then Monday would come and I would either try to start it, but then end the day with something else, because it's oh, well, it's only one day. I'll start again tomorrow. Oh, I'll start again tomorrow. I'd wake up in the morning, kind of refresh and no, today is going to be the day, and I'd start with breakfast and maybe lunch. And sometime by the afternoon, it was whatever, I don't even care. I'm eating whatever I want. And then I would kind of go back into it. Sometimes it was days, and sometimes it was months, and sometimes it was weeks, and sometimes it was years. But I would kind of waver between these things where sometimes I felt comfortable in my body, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I felt I really needed to do a diet. Sometimes I'm whatever, I'm just going to love myself. And the weight would continue to creep, and it would continue to creep, and it would continue to creep until I got to a place where I was so uncomfortable in my clothes and so uncomfortable in my body that I would then start to berate myself. And it was kind of like a slashing on the back of trying to motivate myself to do something different, because all of these days waking up committed and then going to bed saying who cares, then waking up and recommitting and going to bed, who cares, and then still not really getting the results that I want and never really feeling free. And it was just exhausting. It was totally exhausting. And so this is what I want to share with you guys. The other day, so right now it's been a few years since I changed my thinking, both conscious and subconscious thinking and perception about weight. So it is this process where we lift the weight from our hearts. We lift the weight from our shoulders, like carrying around other people's burdens. I had to rewire my mind, my brain, my subconscious, all of this thinking. I remember one day I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if I wasn't thinking about food in my own butt all day, like how much energy would I have? Honestly, it's exhausting having all of those negative thoughts repetitive in your mind, going over and over, just telling you that you're no good, that you're not worth it, that you're not pretty, that you're not thin enough, that people are looking at you, just like craziness. And so I remember thinking like, wow, I think I would have like so much more energy, which you definitely do, by the way. If that is your thinking at all, I mean, think about how many minutes, how many hours a day that if you didn't have any of those thoughts, if it was just like peace of mind and freedom, like what would you even do with all of that energy? That's a little bit of a side note. What happens is that when I released all of that weight, that heaviness from my mind, oh my God, it was like, it's like a miracle. It feels like when you're not carrying that weight, it has nothing to do with the body. It has nothing to do with the scale, and it has nothing to do with food. When you release that weight from your heart, from your shoulders, from your mind, the peace of mind and the freedom, and then it becomes easy and simple and natural to make the best choices for your body when your thinking and your energy is in tune, is in a line, and you're not trying to berate yourself into starving yourself to be thin so that then you can be happy. It's like this totally backwards mentality that we have. So the other day I got to tell you, so now it's been a few years since a lot of these changes have happened. And it's not that I haven't like had binging moments, and it's not that I've never eaten something off plan. Like, of course I have. Like there's reasons, there's underlying reasons behind those sorts of things. And when I am able to, because I have community and support, to be able to look at those things and not just go, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that. It's like, what's underneath it, and begin to do that inner healing. It's like, oh, it makes things so much easier to really, literally takes the weight off. And so the other day, my weight has been between, and this is the kicker, you guys, that this is what I'm going to share with you. It's probably not exactly what you want to hear, because there's this fantasy that there's some ideal weight that we're going to get to. And like, once we get there, we'll be happy. And once we're happy, we'll just stay there. Well, I don't know anyone who has had that experience, especially those of us that come from needing to lose, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 pounds, right? But even naturally thin people, I'm going to burst your bubble right now and blow your mind. People gain weight. Whatever the scale says, it fluctuates. So really an ideal weight is an ideal weight range, and it's a bit of a dance. And it's not necessarily, I mean, sometimes it's a dance with like actually, changing food and looking at, your exercise and things like that, but that's only like a couple pound difference. Really, the dance is mentally and emotionally, and getting over it, getting over yourself, and really becoming comfortable with having a range and not diving back into the weird thinking, right? Like when you're like low, like, oh, cool, now I can eat out every single day. Or when you're a little bit high, oh my God, I need to restrict everything. And like, I'm going to get crazy. And like that fear of gaining the weight back just makes you hungry. And it just is, it's like crazy, going like out of control. So where is that happy medium? Where is that balance? So I know that this experience happened to me the other day because somebody needs to hear it. And I also know because there was a piece inside of me that still needed some healing. And God bless, I'm so grateful for that. I used to be so embarrassed, right? When anything would happen where I would go off, I'm like, I teach this stuff. I'm supposed to be perfect. Bullshit. That's not how it is. That's just not the deal. That's not what we're promised in this life, is that we said, and we have a revelation and then we're perfect. I mean, that's the whole fantasy and fallacy that we get into, even with an ideal weight or like losing weight, that somehow it's going to be this magical thing where I can hate myself until the scale says this moment, and then I can love myself, right? Like we got that all backwards. So the other day, and my weight range is between 146 and 154. And I just, and I don't have to change anything. literally, I don't change anything and my weight goes down. I don't change anything and my weight goes up. I mean, sometimes there are some reasons, like this particular one more recently, I was out of town. I had like 3 weeks of vacation. So I had every single meal out. Well, that can do different things to the body. Like, whoa, what's going on here? What happened is that last Friday, my weight was at 155, which I have not seen in years. And it was so interesting because that old thinking that I'm just talking about right now, it was like, and I didn't even notice it at first. It was like, boom, in this like crazy full force. And I didn't even notice it until I was started like snacking throughout the day, which I don't snack. There's really no reason to do that. I eat 3 large meals a day. They're beautiful, they're fresh, alive, and vibrant. I don't need to do that. And then I had lunch at like 10:30 in the morning, which is fine. I've done that before, but it's not really necessary. I can wait until noon. And so there was like all these little things that began to happen. And by the afternoon, I was shoving these like almond, whatever things into my face going, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And it went back to, and it was so interesting. Well, tomorrow I'm going to be a good girl. And you know what? I'm not going to have this, and I'm going to take out this, and I'm going to do that. And it was right at that moment because, and the only reason why I was able to make that change is that I have this on repeat with my girls that I coach, with my coach and my mastermind that I meet with every couple of weeks as well. It is so clear to me that where I am going and where I want to be is to be totally free. And if I'm thinking ever that I need to starve myself, that I've been a bad girl, that I just need to get this in because it's going to be different tomorrow, like I have had practice and help in identifying what those old thoughts and patterns and habits of thinking are, so that when they come up, I can identify them. Now, usually I can identify them before I end up with a box of like whatever shoving into my face. But what happened, and this is the magic, you guys. This is the magic right here. The next morning when I woke up and I had that thing where it was the residual of that old thinking and feeling, and I wanted to just go, and I wanted to go exercise it off, and I wanted to just do all of these things. And my second thought was, what do I really need? Like, what am I really hungry for? What am I really running away from? And I sat in my meditation, and this is the magic right here. This is how to never gain the way back. I sat with myself in the uncomfortableness and the shame and the disappointment, put my hand on my heart and a hand on my belly. And I said to myself, there's nowhere in the world I would rather be than right here with you right now. There is no one in the world that I would rather be than me. There is nothing that I'd rather be doing. There's nowhere that I'd rather be. And I just let myself sit with that feeling of acceptance, of unconditional love. And I sat there until I really felt it. Not just saying the words, really felt it in my heart and in my gut, right? In my body, the deep gratitude for all of the experiences, for all of the ups and downs, for all of the fears, for all of the memories, and for all of the joy in my forward thinking and forward moving. And that moment right there was exactly why I know I don't ever have to gain that 50 pounds back, right? Because the weight has been lifted from my heart. But I knew that I had to speak this out to the world so that it could be lifted from my shoulders, nothing to be ashamed about. Right. And when I sat with myself and allowed that good feeling of love to move through me, I now don't have any need or desire to be running to the food. Now, typically when those of us who have been working out our food stuff, right, when we first kind of get rid of things that maybe are toxic to the body, it can take a few days for your body to kind of, right, like 3 days to kind of detox from like that stuff. And we kind of have weird cravings and weird thoughts. And I know from my own experience that that is something that could have happened. And I'll tell you, from doing that deeper work that morning, those old thoughts, those old feelings were so mild that it was like just a passing wind, just like a, and nothing of that old, like intense, you did something wrong, you need to figure it out, you need to work it off, like don't tell anybody, that whole thinking. So that is my life hack 101 for you ladies. It is rewiring the brain about what it means to gain weight, what it means to lose weight, what it means to really love and honor and respect and enjoy this body. And when we really get that connection, it begins to become easy and simple and just natural for us to begin to eat the proper foods. Now, I will say that sometimes education on what those foods might be for us, or like how to actually structure it. If you're feeling still kind of like stuck in the muck of like, I hear what you're saying, Rose, but I don't really feel like I'm quite there yet. Like that's a couple steps ahead of where I'm at. I'm still in that like angry, frustrated place. Then this is a perfect time to click the link. Come and be my Valentine. Come and be my Valentine this weekend. We're going to kick off on Sunday. I know it's Super Bowl, but you know what? Like, let whoever needs to watch the Super Bowl, watch the Super Bowl. Come put on your little headphones and join me in the group. So at 4 o'clock Pacific time this Sunday, and then on Valentine's Day, same time. And then on also Tuesday, same time, 4 o'clock Pacific time, I am going to be showing you exactly how to take back control, how to love your body and make weight loss easy, simple, and fun. Because it can be, right? When we get out of our own way and we get to just laugh at ourselves and with ourselves and love ourselves from such a deep level, then the weight, it disappears. We know it doesn't disappear, it gets metabolized, but our mind and our body are ready to release that which it no longer needs. So I love you so much. And I really hope that you join me. It's going to be live in this group, but if you want like the actual food plan that I follow, like written out, you want a hypnosis session that's going to help you rewire your subconscious habits and habits of thought and patterns, then register. It's totally free and you'll get the emails with the links and the Zoom and you can join me and it's going to be totally freaking awesome. All right. I love you so much. I'll talk to you soon.